Hey guys, welcome back to the Out Jeep Me YouTube channel. My name is Austin, and in today's video, we're back working on this 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK2, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace the front and rear sway bar links. Now I'm going to be replacing them with a little bit of an upgrade over the stock factory ones, and I'll tell you all about it. So let's dive right in. Alright, so these are the sway bar links I'm going to be replacing today once again on my Jeep Grand Cherokee. I went ahead and I'm going to do the front and rears at the same time. Reason why I'm replacing this is because the vehicle right now has 110,000 miles, and I've just noticed there's some slight clunking going on, and by experience from other Jeep vehicles, I know these sway bar links like to wear out pretty fast once you near around that 100,000 mile mark. I actually just did ones on a Jeep Compass, and they, from the factory, have plastic sway bar links, and those wear out pretty fast too. On these Grand Cherokees, they should come standard with steel sway bar links, but they could still wear out fast as well. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I decided to go with this brand right here, MEVOTECH. These are their premium TTX sway bar links. I think they got 3 different tiers if you look on Rock Auto for your vehicle. And the reason why I'm trying this brand today is normally I go with Moog for my standard aftermarket replacement on suspension and steering components, but they were pretty similar in price for these premium ones right here. These ones come painted as well, and I've noticed some of the Moog ones don't really come painted, and if you live in the Rust Belt, that instantly gets rusted right away. But let's take a closer look. These are the front ones right here. They come with all brand new hardware, which is really nice. Has thread locker already applied to that, so which is pretty nice. And on here they have some Zerk fittings that we're going to be installing as well. And from the factory, they don't have any grease zerks. That's part of the reason why they fail early, is because you can't grease them since they don't have the grease zerks. So these are nice. Every time I rotate the tires or take a look at the brakes or whatever, I can get in there with the grease gun to grease these up nicely. So they got grease zerks, got hardware. They also do have this little wrench here, which is pretty nice. Nice thin wrench to get in behind here. A standard width wrench is not able to get in here to hold the stud into place. They do also have the option to have a internal hex right here, so you can hold the stud in while you're tightening up the nut. But that can be a little bit difficult trying to hold it in place when you're trying to torque things down with the socket. And same deal over here on the left, except we just got some new nuts since it's a little bit different design. Have a wrench, have some grease zerks, and everything like that. So first thing we're going to do is get these ready and install the grease zerks onto the new sway bar links. I'm going to pull off that cap for now. And these grease zerks are going to be an 8mm, and we're just going to thread them into place. Nothing crazy tight on these, just snug them up. I can put the cap back over it. Just like that, it's ready to install. Once this is already on the vehicle, we'll take a grease gun, pump it full of some grease, and then it should be ready to go. So I'm going to do that to all the sway bar links that we're going to be installing today. Next, we're going to jump over to the vehicle, jack it up, take off the wheel, and we'll take a look at our old sway bar link, remove it, and install our brand new one. Alright, so I'm going to start up here on the front passenger side, and I'm going to jack it up by the subframe, so that way the tire is off the ground, and then we'll get the tire off there, and then get a jack stand underneath that control arm. Alright, so with that tire out of here, we can see right here is our old sway bar link. We have the through bolt that goes in here on the top, and then we have the stud that's just here on the bottom. Looks like these are going to be an 18mm and a 21mm to get this off. Now once we start to loosen this up, we might notice some binding. What we're going to do, since it's jacked up in the air, is we're actually going to let off of the jack a little bit and then have the vehicle weight rest on this control arm. It's going to push the suspension up, and that way we should be able to line up our bolts and get them out properly. Alright, so I went ahead and turned the steering wheel all the way to the right for this passenger side, and that gives me a little bit more room, so I can just get my impact in here easily. This bolt head is going to be an 18mm, and the nut on the back side is going to be a 21. So I'm going to loosen this up with my impact. As you can see, it's starting to torque up, so I'm going to let a little bit of weight off of the jack and onto this jack stand right here underneath the lower control arm, and that's going to help straighten it out. Might have went just a little too much, but I'll just jack it back up. Alright, so for this last one, it's a 21 millimeter for that nut. I squeezed my smaller impact back here. Let's see if we can zip this out. So it is spinning that shaft. I might have enough room. I'm going to get a channel locks and clamp it onto the shaft. There we go. That is our old unit. Now I do want to mention before we put in the new sway bar link, on these Jeep Grand Cherokees, I believe the 2018 and newer models, your sway bar link is going to be connected from your sway bar up to your strut, and that's what this is right here. I have some aftermarket Ranchos in here. If you have an earlier model, it's just going to be connected from the control arm to the sway bar. Just keep that in mind in case your Jeep is a little bit different. So I got our new sway bar link right here. I'm going to put the stud portion on the bottom where it connects to our sway bar itself. Have a new nut. I'm going to thread that onto the back side. I'm going to get my impact in here, and I'm just going to tighten this up just to snug it up. We'll come back to torque these when I get the other side in. So once again, that's going to be a 21 millimeter. And then this is where they have the provided thin wrench right here. That's going to be an 18 millimeter. We're going to stick that on the other side in this thin little pocket right here, and that's going to help hold this into place so it doesn't keep spinning. Now I'm just going to tighten this up. Now for the top, as you can see, I'm a little bit off. So I'm going to have to play with the jack so that way I can get this bolt to line up into this hole right here. There we go, right there. Pretty much have all the weight back from the suspension on this corner right here. Then we'll stick our nut on the back side. So with both those snugged up, we're going to torque each of these bolts down to 85 foot-pounds. Alright, so with those torqued down, one last thing we can do now, since we have grease zerks, is we're going to hit them with some grease until we start to see the boot pop out a little bit. Don't want to put too much because we don't want to rupture that boot. Then anytime you're in here doing maintenance, once a year checking this over, just give it a couple pumps of grease and this should be pretty much ready to go for thousands of miles. Then we'll just go ahead, throw on the wheel, and then we're done with this corner. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the front. The other side's going to be a mirror opposite, pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the rear. Alright, so same process on the rear. We're going to start jacking this up, get the wheel off, get a jack stand underneath that lower control arm. Alright, so inside the wheel well here, we have our rear sway bar link located right here. We just have two studs on here, so we just have two nuts. We can easily get it from the back side over here, which is directly, conveniently behind the shock. So, might be a little bit tougher to see, but they're going to be two 18 millimeter nuts on this. If it spins, we're just going to get a vice grips and to put it onto this shaft right here. So I got that vice grips on there because I instantly started spinning. You guys probably won't have as much grime in here, but I fluid film my vehicles before every winter, so that's why I got a lot of this residual fluid film on here. So to get these off, they're a little bit tricky. I would recommend getting both nuts off, and then we're going to leave the top stud in all the way, and then we're going to try and pull out on the bottom. Reason being is because the CV shaft is right behind it, so we can't pull it directly back. So we got to pull out the bottom, then we should be able to swivel it back, and then take it out the top right there. And then we got our old sway bar link completely out. Alright, so we got our new sway bar link, and you can either orientate it either way, but I like the Zerk fittings to be accessible from the wheel well side, so I'm going to have that facing towards me as I put this into place. Now before I install it, I am going to offset these in their joints just so I can squeeze it in here, just because this member is a little bit thicker than the factory one and runs into that CV shaft trying to install it a lot closer. So I'm going to offset it and then install the bottom and try and orientate it so we can get the top in. I'm just going to release some pressure on the jack, move it around a little bit so that way those holes line up perfectly. Alright, that was a very tight fit, but to got that to work, I actually had to take a pry bar and just kind of pry it up against the coil spring and push back so that way it would be able to pop into place. So now that should go in all the way. Just like so. We'll get our new nuts on here and drive these in. I'll take up the slack, just snug these up a little bit, and then take our little thin wrench for the 18mm and hold that on to the stud. Now we'll torque these nuts down to 66 foot-pounds. Lastly, we'll hit the Zerks with some grease. One thing I did notice with these boots is they actually have a little weep hole in them, so that way you know how much grease to put in it so you don't overfill it. I thought at first I had a pinhole leak, but it's actually just a built-in design to let you know how much grease is in there. Alright guys, and that's pretty much it. The other side is going to be the exact mirror opposite of what it was over here on the passenger side. But overall, it's a very simple process, 2 bolts per corner, and anyone can get this done within a matter of a couple hours on the weekend. As always, I'll post the links down in the description below if you're interested in the products I use in this video. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful if you're following along. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to drop those down below and I'll be happy to answer. If you want to help support the channel, make sure you subscribe and check out outjeeping.com where you can pick up some decals and t-shirts. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.